Hey guys, this is Grace and welcome to video number 4 for our Christmas Products Revisited series. This is where I took all of my leftover Christmas papers and broken them down in different color categories, and I'm creating non-Christmas layouts with them. I decided that I would play around with them and see how many more layouts I can make before I get some new Christmas collections. I felt like I have way too many scraps and I needed to use them up before I go and buy some new stuff. So with this one, I am actually going to do a rainbow. I know that this strip one has yellow, so I did pull out some items from my stash, most most of the papers will come from the Christmas stash that I have. So a lot of this will be reds and greens and those Christmas colored papers. So I'm gonna do a diagonal stripe rainbow, and the top side will have all of the warm colors. We have the yellows, the reds, and the pinks, and then on the bottom will be the cool colors will be the greens, the blues, and the blacks. I will not incorporate purple here because I don't have purple in my Christmas stash, but I will add that as my background cardstock. And then another thing that I'm doing just to kind of spice things up and make things different and unexpected is that I will be punching some of these papers into with scallop edge, just so that not all of them have the kind of straight edge that we are used to. Now this layout or design is actually good if you save all of those paper strips, like paper branding strips, because some of these ones that I'm using are the paper branding strips. So I'm just kind of setting them up here, trying to see where they would fall on my layout. The first thing that I did, as you can see, is the yellow. So the yellow will be kind of like the border of that area where I'm working on, and I figured that I need to do that first, and then all of the layouts that will, or the papers rather, that will come before that will be adhered next to it, just so that I know that that's the piece that I want the longest, because that's the one that is closest to the center of the layout. I hope that I am explaining that correctly, so that I can use little or shorter strips of paper like this one that I'm using, and then I'll be able to find or plan which other papers that I need to add for that particular area. So now that I have somewhat of a plan, I am going to adhere them, and I will be adhering them all pretty much all at once by adding adhesive first to that area, and then peeling that off and then adding them, so that I don't have to add adhesive to each of the strips. I know that by doing this, each of the strips will catch on to the adhesive that I've already added to this area. So I'm just going to peel off, and I have this kind of poking tool. This is actually part of my Making Memories tool. I think it's for sewing, poking holes for stitching. And I use that to peel off the strips because I don't have nails. I like to have stubby nails, I guess. So it's hard for me to peel them off without having nails. So that's why you see me use that poking tool. Now I decided that the yellow, there needs to be something in between the yellow and the red, because we know that in a rainbow you have orange in between the red and the yellow. So I am going to do that, but instead of pulling a new paper, I am just going with my scraps. And because this particular paper is shorter than the space that I needed it, I cut them twice so that I can just piece them together. And I'm not too worried about that because that will be covered up. And really, honestly, as I was working on this, I forgot that there was a seam there. So I'm not too worried about that. Now with the scallop edges, I do overlap them on top of each other so that I don't see any whites. And that's why it's nice to have different widths of scrap paper, not just that particular like 1/2 inch, because then you'll have extra space to overlap those paper strips. So I will have some leftover strips here, of course, and you can save them if you want. But again, some of these papers I've had for a while, so I just threw them all away because I don't want to worry, or I don't need to worry about having too many tiny scraps in my Christmas stash. I mean, as it is, I already have a ton, and that's why I created this series. So I'm just going to just throw them in the trash. Of course, that bigger one I am going to keep, but as far as the strips, they're just going to go to the trash. Okay, so now I have the red side, or sorry, the warm colored side of my layout done. I'm going to work on the cool side of my layout. And I'm going to start off with the green. Now I know that I have that yellow, so I kind of was looking for a green that's kind of a yellow green, just so that it will blend nice. And I do have that space in the middle, and that's where my layout, or sorry, my photos and my title are going to go. And this layout actually came out pretty fast because I already had idea in mind, and because I'm working with limited products. I feel like if you are overwhelmed with the amount of products that you have, pare them down, and scrapbooking will come. The process of scrapbooking will become faster because you have limited items that you're working with. Again, these are all scraps, and I decided to mat my photos with some more leftover pattern paper. I'm matting the two with black paper, and I specifically use the black because I'm not gonna use that one with the Merry Christmas at all. And I just placed my photos where that Merry Christmas is so that you won't know that there is a word inside that paper. Now that I've matted them, I am going to add adhesive, and then I'm going to put them onto my layout. But before that, I found these two circle, like scallop circle journaling blocks in my stash. I don't know where I have them. I have this little container that I have all my die cuts, all of like stuff that I kept that I would want to use for another project. And so honestly, I don't know where they came from, but there were two, and I figured I can use them as kind of like bookends, or things that would balance the layout. So I'm going to put one on the left and one on the right. I also gutted that purple cardstock so I can use the inside of it for another layout, and added adhesive to this big piece. And I'm going to just frame or add this paper in the center of that purple cardstock in order to frame it. So now that I have that, now I can do my photos. So a little bit about the photos. These are just your typical like everyday photos. This was, I think this was a Monday, and we have a Steak and Shake near our house. And if you've ever been to Steak and Shake, you know that they have what they call a happy hour, or between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, all of their drinks are on sale. And so that's when we go and get our shakes, because then everything is half off, and it'll be a little bit cheaper for a family of 5 to go and have milkshakes. And another reason why we went and had milkshakes at this particular day was because this was the day that I finally passed a test that I have been working on. When I graduated college, I wanted to be a teacher, but the problem was that my degree wasn't an education degree. In our state, in Colorado, you can still get a teaching license if you go through what they call an alternative program. And um, part of the requirements of getting into the program is that you take a test called Praxis. It's a teaching test where it's just basically it's a test where you are tested with the materials or the content of what you're teaching. So I wanted to teach elementary, and therefore I took a test that had elementary content in there. Now you would think that that's easy, but for some reason I was failing a specific subject. And the good thing about the test is that if you take the test, there's 4 parts to it. Now, if you fail one or more of the parts, all you have to take is that particular part that you failed. You don't have to retake the ones that you've passed. And so for some reason, I kept on failing science. I know it's so embarrassing, but I'm telling it to you anyways. So I kept on failing science, and it's not like I'm not failing it like big time, but my scores were just shy of it passing. And so I had to take it 3 times in order for me to pass. And I did feel like such a loser because I kept on failing it. But after this 3rd time, I passed my science, and this was that day. And so we felt like we needed to celebrate because I finally passed that particular test. Now, I did stop my journey to applying for an alternative license because I just started subbing, and I felt like it could be put on pause because subbing will kind of help me to figure out which school I want to be in once I start applying, or once I start back on that journey of getting my alternative teaching license. And it also helped me to kind of get my foot wet just a little bit in the field of teaching. So as of today, I don't have I'm not planning on having my own classroom, but in the future I will be doing that just because I've already started the journey for that. So now I'm just decorating. I have my title, my journaling. I have all of the elements that I wanted to add. And then I found the sticker sheet in my stash that has a lot of food kind of theme. And so since this is a trip to get some shakes, I felt like it would be nice to add some of those stickers. I just added a yum to the milkshake and then added some hearts and family favorite. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in video number 5. Bye.